long story. So I need a survey first. Do you want to hear about Occupy Occupy Philly, or more of a short story about Club Rave Scene? Occupy Philly? Okay. Or Club Rave Scene? Club Rave Scene. That's a mix. I don't know. All right. I'll do Occupy Philly. So it was a tie. I really don't know. So. I'll read it for about 5 minutes. It's kind of long, so I probably won't get through the entire thing. But anyway. All right. It's called Maggie in Philly. Shattered pieces of glass glued to brick or wood, shards of blue, white, yellow, red, purple, green, jagged ridges, pointing in all directions to the chaotic process of creativity and destruction that birthed their existences. Maggie created art from entropy. With oil and paint, she wrote peace, freedom, and liberty on old glass plates from Goodwill. She drew images of such instances, happenstance here and there, limitations everywhere, with a steadfast beat pounding through the centuries, relevant to many today, but still centuries away for some. Some would never know what peace looked like from within the smoky rooms of brothels and enforced slavery. Blinking yellow neon lights reflected each raindrop sliding down the window pane. 12 hours away in some white suburban home, peace resounded. But not here, not tonight. Their eyes connected years ago, and neither one forgot what each other looked like. Tonight, her sunken eyes inspired. Ere to even say inspired, perhaps beckoned from a living death, perhaps reconciled her dozen aborted fetuses to justice to prevent them from having such a fate as her own. With the painted plates, the memory of that hopeful freedom etched onto ceramic creativity, the avowal of justice with similar fates. Maggie throws one plate against the wall, she smashes another with a hammer, the metal biting into the glass, chewing it to dust, then the glue, and nailed to the wall. Peace, freedom, and liberty for all to see. Outside, a siren echoes, echoing through the canyons of steel and iron, causing her no particular concern. But tomorrow she won't hear about the shootings, the rape, the kind that only show up in circuit court records as a domestic dispute, or the armed robbery. She doesn't need to hear it. The siren is a confirmation of the stark reality for everyone around the city. Some are worse than others, but even their lives don't clung close to the woman in her memory. If only it were a memory, a dream of some non-existent realm. But that woman still lives, she would say dies every day in that brothel. There is no living in her world, just nightly perishing what is left of her soul. Protesters occupy the city space, hundreds with no jobs, nothing to do but express their warranted frustration to the penguins in suits. As she thinks of the stoic rebellion, the static revolution going on just a few blocks away, she wonders what the Liberty Bell sounded like when it rang. Those outside in the cold, tonight, wage a passive-aggressive war they will ultimately lose. It seems that those who believe in passive resistance have a severe misunderstanding of aggressive authority. They protest beneath large towers elevated on stilts, like beach homes where floodwaters cannot touch them, cannot leave their mark, will only be an evaporated memory one day. Pocketbooks must be protested, protest Wall Street, Philly, Oakland, Richmond. Nothing is hindered by the shouts of the people freezing in tents tonight. A fiery revolution sparked here years ago and birthed the monstrosity of obese corporate babies today. No one knows that revolution except from their high school American history classes, the kind of classes they whirl through, hit on a few topics, Pilgrims, Plymouth Rock, John Rolfe, all mythological creations of history to help them understand the realities they will never understand. And left the book with the school at the end of the year, never to look at it again, the dusty, dead history that touched only a few modern men's souls. Just a few blocks closer to the river, Carpenter's Hall, ironic to think Carpenter's framed so much, the sparks were igniting. The formidable arch of freedom seized their minds, their hearts, their souls, reassuring yet restricting, an irrefutable renunciation of the dictatorship that owned them for years. It was to be the first, the rebuttal to the emperor with no clothes, exposed in the scant nakedness that revealed across the seas that power lacked the presence or state of mind to disguise his barrenness anymore. From tea and wind crates to the brick structure that from within, angry voices rallied for autonomy. It was to be the first. Raindrops still pling against the glass as she walks down the narrow stairwell outside along to the curbside. A few blocks away, she hears only the hum, a few taxis waiting for the morning hours when the daily commuters make their way to the concrete walkways. The damp smell of the air, tinged with the lingering cigarette smoke from someone who just went back indoors, clings to her gray fleece. She recalled a few years ago when she was a student lobbying, reading in the paper about the raising of a block of Section 8 housing. Local university students stepped in, protested, and moved them into a church until the city promised not to move them. The city backed down and families moved back. Her cynicism reminds her that they will probably not last long. Why do wealthy people want what the poor have? I suppose if they can't raise homes, they destroy them another way. How do realtors get away with it? Lawyers for housing markets. What would become of those in Dilworth Plaza? The same that occurred in those in Zuccotti Park? Eventually, yes. No pocketbooks were harmed in the making of this protest. Fecal spattered walls and unremarkable graffiti will mar this era. No marks to leave. Maybe if she had been part of the process, made her voice heard, spoken up, stepped up, stepped in and protested. Maybe more would be done. Maybe Philly would have come to its knees. Yes, that's it. We'll all march around the Capitol 7 times, blow our trumpets, and the walls will tumble. If we shout loud enough, we will cause the sun to stand in the noonday sonata of echoing beams. She thinks that she may vote in the next election. An ambulance drives by, no sirens, but she sees the paramedics pressing quickly on someone's chest. Cardiac arrest? They're probably already dead. The paramedics called the morgue before they left. The protocol says they have to do what they can. Seems like any protocol goes down the street. Lessen immigration restrictions, support our anti-abortion campaign, put more money in education, stop global warming, bring down fascist police state. Everyone has protocol for something. What was the whole point of this again? Maggie recalls the news of the Tea Party the last election cycle and whatever became of that. That's all she can think about. She turns around, exactly 7 blocks down. She knows the place well. With angry tea kettle boiling in Boston, the pissed off tea drinkers started the discussions. Today, tea isn't so fashionable, isn't so cool, isn't so effective as it once then.